Hello, we are the real motherfuckers. I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Vanessa.
So today we're going to talk about our birth stories.
What the birth? Yeah, it's called What the Birth. And we have a very different story to tell.
Yes.
And so we thought we would love to share it because we want to support all mothers and decisions that you make, because there's different situations and different medical reasons why you would choose a certain birth or not. Mm-hmm. And I think it's the beauty of knowing that you have the choice.
Yeah. And I think that it's important to remember that whatever decision we make, it's the right one, because it's our bodies, it's our families. It's, that's how I share my insight to all my friends who are moms. Like whenever they're dealing with a tough situation, I'm like, whatever decision you make is the right one because it's yours.
Yeah, we all have different experiences and different situations that will lead us to that decision. So, take your time with it, though. I know that it all comes fast, especially if you're a new mom. So we hope that what we bring you today is resourceful, and it kind of makes you ponder on maybe something you didn't think about. So, but before that,
before that, we wanted to say thank you to everybody who's been listening so far. And I'm sorry, there's a cat here. And we have heard you. Yes. And we heard you that sometimes it's hard to hear us. We're dealing with that. We're editing this.
Or see us.
Or, yes. Sometimes I'm like this. The ghost of Stephanie is out of the frame. This is like motherhood. We're learning. We're messing up as we go along.
Yes.
But this has been a fun adventure, and thank you for coming along with us.
Yes, we appreciate all of your comments and your compliments. We would like to just share a little bit of feedback from our listeners. This is literally from you viewers. One of the comments was so relatable, which that's our goal. Mm-hmm. Nice to have feelings validated. Also our goal. It's genius. That's just a perk. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Listen to your overscheduling podcast. It was great. So thank you as well. And I've been listening to my many podcasts daily for years now, and I never like anything about parenting, but I love yours. So thank you so much, because we are in a pool with a lot of great other podcasts, and if we are already standing out, thank you so much.
Woohoo!
There you go.
Okay, so birth stories. Let's jump into it.
What the birth?
What the birth?
First, we got our baby blankets back here.
So if you're viewing, we brought some blankets that we were gifted. For what? Did you get it during your baby shower?
I think I actually picked this one out with probably a gift card from my baby shower, and I wanted my first child to be a surprise, so I picked the yellow.
Super soft.
And this is totally what I would want to be in, so I thought, if I'm going to be holding this, I want to be able to enjoy it too.
Yes.
So I got this one.
I have one that my sister made, and during our my baby shower, she asked everyone to bring an old shirt, and she quilted all the shirts together. This one is actually my husband's old wrestling shirt from high school.
Yeah, it's super cool. We'll probably take pictures of it. I would like to for our Instagram so you could see it. So it's very beautifully done and meaningful. I think that's like wrapping your kid with everyone's little love.
Yeah.
Super cute.
My kids still use it.
Yeah.
Okay, so my birth story. First off, let me tell you a preview. So my birth story involves me having both my babies in a hospital. And Vanessa's birth story involves having both of her babies at home. So I'm not going to bore you with every single detail of both of my child's births. But I will tell you the reason why I chose the path that I chose. And a lot of the reason why I chose to have my baby in a hospital was I had such a close relationship with going to the hospital, going to the doctor. I have this disease that occurred when I was in my late 20s, and it was like a very confusing thing that happened to me. It was adult onset, and I have it's like, imagine you have a really bad allergic attack like, when like the pollen is out there and you're having like the worst allergy day, super stuffed up, you feel like you're like so dizzy and so stuffed up, and
you just don't, you
you
can't
don't
breathe.
feel good.
You can't find the air. It can't find you, and you're just miserable.
That was how I felt every day. And it just kind of happened. And I was just allergic to everything. I felt like I couldn't sleep. I felt like I was always stuffed up. And then all of a sudden I started going to the ER because I was having trouble breathing. There were a couple times where I had anaphylaxis, and I so depended on doctors to help me figure this out. It was such a mystery. After many doctor's appointments and after seeing the doctor many times, going to the ER, I realized I have this thing called AERD. It's aspirin exacerbated respiratory disease. And it's a respiratory disease. It's a sinus disease. And it involved me going to the doctor a lot. And so when I became pregnant, I wanted the support of doctors to help me, especially because during pregnancy, I was also super inflamed. It like made all the symptoms worse, because when you're pregnant,
you're working overtime.
You're working overtime. You're super inflamed already.
Totally.
So yeah, to deal with AERD, I also tried the alternative medicine. I tried acupuncture. I tried different diets. I tried different herbs, all of that. Some of it helped, but really what really helped was me going to my doctor and dealing with that and getting Western medicine to help. It's been many years and it's a lot better now. So my second pregnancy, I had like a weird situation happen where all of a sudden my vision was getting really messed up.
Oh yeah, this is gnarly. We're gonna be sharing this picture too, if you don't mind.
Yes.
Good God.
I have like a scan of what my skull looked like. But for a while I was like, I think I'm just getting older. My vision is changing. And then all of a sudden I started getting more dizzy and nauseous. And I went to eye doctors and they're like, yeah, like I don't understand what's going on. And then one day I just felt my face, like right on my eye. And I was like, there seems to be like a bulge there, like something hard was like by my eye. And then I went to the head and neck doctor and we realized that there was some sort of mass behind my eye. And it was due to my disease. And I had a bunch of like polyps growths going on in my sinuses. And
How big were they?
I mean, big enough noticeable that you could see my eye bulging.
Well, I remember you showed me the picture.
Yeah.
So did they measure it, or did they say it's like the size of a grape or a size of a?
They didn't say what the size was, but they said it was big enough that it was very, very close to hitting my optic nerve, which means that if it hits it, it could affect my vision for the rest of my life. So I talked to several surgeons, and then I also talked to a high-risk OBGYN. And they all talked. It was really cool to see all these doctors working together so closely and like really focused on helping me. All the surgeons said, no, like let's wait until you're done being pregnant. And I was 5 months pregnant at the time. And my OBGYN said, my personal opinion is you should do it now. Just because it could get worse. Inflammation gets worse as you go along in your pregnancy. And also, I was just thinking about like post-pregnancy, that's just going to be hard to deal with as well. Because it was a surgery that I had to go fully under for. And I ended up deciding to do it. It was such a hard decision. But again, like I had such a good experience at the hospital with doctors. I do think that now in my point in life where things are a lot better with my disease, I'm a little bit more woo-woo and I've understood my body a lot more. I don't know if I would consider maybe doing a birth at home if I were to be, have a baby now. But I do value my experience in the hospital. I'll give you a little bit of a fun story from my first pregnancy. Mm-hmm. So I was on the phone with my boss, who I did not enjoy. And I was like almost going to have my baby. And I was like, please, like, let this baby come. And I was on the phone with her, and she was being very annoying. And I was like, oh, I feel something. I got to go. I got to call you back. And then I started bleeding. And I was like, okay, I have the perfect excuse to not have to call my boss back. I'm out. We go to the hospital. The doctor says, you got to wait. You're too early. So I'm like, dang it. So my husband and I went to a restaurant because I was super craving hamburgers the whole time of my pregnancy. And so I was like, I got to get a hamburger. And I think the doctor checking me induced the pregnancy more.
Yeah.
And so while I'm ordering my burger, while I'm in the restaurant, the waiter is witnessing me like ordering while having contractions. I'm like, I'll have the cheeseburger and extra pickles. And then it would just pass. I'm like, okay, yes, that's what I want. I'd be totally fine. But then he was watching me during the time that we're at the dinner table, and I was having contractions kind of frequently at this point, and he's looking at me like, bitch, do not have this baby in this restaurant right now. I gotta clean your shit when you leave.
Oh
yeah.
My God.
So the other thing too that I really wanted to do during these pregnancies was learn about having my births without assisted pain medication.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, someone told me about hypnobirthing and like different breathing techniques. And I remember I had like 1 or 2 books. I definitely had that hypnobirthing book, which we should probably reference afterward too.
Yes, we'll put it in our notes because it's part of my story too.
Yeah.
So.
And I remember having these books and having all these intentions to do it naturally. And I was working so much both pregnancies. I was like, I will get to this, but I never got to it because I was so freaking busy with work. And yeah, like I said, I don't know if I were to be pregnant again, if I would consider it. Now I have more time to read.
Well, you never know how the world turns.
Yeah.
I don't know. No, I mean,
no, I'm not having more babies. Just so you know.
But if you are, you might be considering home birth. Yeah. No, I'm kidding. Your story is amazing. I mean, you did have valid reasons for choosing the way that you did.
Yeah.
Was there anything any tips you can give to anybody about, checking into the hospital, during your hospital visit, anything that could have made it more comfortable for you? So those 2 little things.
Yeah, I think that the going to the hospital, it helped going with my partner, just to have support, and also like my partner asked questions that I didn't think of asking.
Yeah, moral support, emotional support. It's important.
If you have the support, I was lucky enough to have that support, and I think that some people are not fortunate enough to have great doctors behind them. Sometimes you get the shitty doctor that you've been assigned. Fortunately, I had great ones, and I was able to ask questions and take charge of my own healthcare.
That's great. You should be your biggest advocate.
Yeah, you are.
And
no one else is going to do it for you.
And whatever you think is right for you should make them do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Okay, so tell me about yours.
What my birth? Yeah. So I do come from a very, Western initially side of medicine. We had the sniffles, straight to the doctor. There was no homeopathic seed in me. It wasn't until I moved to Encinitas, like the capital of homeopathic life, that I completely submerged myself into it. When I finally became pregnant, I started doing research, and I chose this number because that's the age I was. I purposely picked 30 people to interview.
Oh, okay.
And I even wrote a list, marked them off as I was going, and they all had the same questions. One was obviously what what was your birthing experience?
Mm-hmm.
And the second one was, why did you choose that?
Mm-hmm.
So, I would say half of the people that I interviewed were hospital births, and the other half, because of the demographic of where I was living, were home births.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them were a mix. Some of them initially had a home birth in the beginning, and then ended up saying that they did their home birth for the second. So first was hospital, second was home birth. But while I was researching about this, I wasn't really happy with the traditional culture and attitude of what the birth experience was.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like it was very scary, and that it had like a negative connotation. Thank you. Connotation to it. That I was like, but why? Isn't this one of the most beautiful experiences for a woman to have?
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I was like, I don't want it to be that negative feeling or experience. So then I was, got the pros and cons from everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Even the fathers would be like, well, I was interviewing them, and they'd be like, oh yeah, we liked the home birth. And then they would start, naming why. And they were like, we were more comfortable. There was a comfort level there. It was your own home. There was just so much factors into why I ended up choosing this. Pretty much I ended up choosing the home birth because when I went to my OB, first of all, that's where I went.
Mm-hmm.
It was not straight to a midwife.
Yeah.
I went to 2 or 3, and they were all told me the same thing. They're like, I can't promise that I'll be there for your birth.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, well, I'm creating this special relationship with you, trusting you through this journey with me. And then if I don't have you, that would be really weird not to have that personal experience with somebody that I'm literally giving my new life to.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So that was kind of how I did that. So I did have an OB and a midwife working. So I interviewed some midwives. I ended up picking a local one. The care was really interesting because I would get both. I'd go to OB for testing and any other things I needed. But I still had my midwife. She would do her own wellness.
Were those experiences very different?
They were. That's exactly where I'm going.
Yeah.
When I went to my OB, it was very scare tactic. It was very like, this can happen to you. This can happen to you. Don't do this. Don't do this. And with my midwife, it was more like, isn't this beautiful? You're growing beautifully. You're doing, and of course she would, look over my tests and do all that stuff. But when I would come out of the doctor's office, I would feel kind of sad. Like, oh my God, I have to worry about this for the next 5 weeks to test for that. Versus when I went to my midwife, she's like, we don't need to worry about it until the tests come kind of attitude. Like, enjoy what is happening now because we don't know. Yeah. And why are you going to worry for 5 weeks until you know? Yeah. So it was like a really good, it was more uplifting. Then my husband is a paramedic firefighter, which you guys know. So he was kind of like, I need to get him on board a little bit.
Okay. Oh yes. What did he think?
So he was kind of like, what? I told him I wanted to have a birth because it's not natural for him either. He's like, my husband personally delivered babies in back of ambulances. I mean, he's delivered at homes as well. Yeah. So,
but those were accidents at home.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. They weren't planned births. They were en route, or someone took a poop and ended up being a baby. And I'm not kidding. That was like one of the instances. So
you always hear those as like urban myths.
No.
Oh my God.
Like someone caught their baby like in the toilet.
Oh my God.
But so my husband's like, well, wait a minute, is it safe? And he had his concerns, and I was like, let's do this together because I did want his support. Hi. See, I guess.
So we have a dog.
So we watched The Business of Being Born. I had him watch that. It was recommended. Ricky Lake produced it in the early 2000s. Fantastic documentary. It really does go through the business of being born and every stage of what was done in emergency rooms and OBs. And then it also has the other side it has both sides of being born at the hospital, being born at home, and even how sometimes just because you're choosing being born at home doesn't mean you're going to birth there. There's things that could happen. Right. There are situations where hospital transfer is needed.
Right.
you know?
Yep.
So,
I have a friend who dealt with that.
Yeah. And it's real. It
Mhm.
happens. It's, you know, rare, but usually, hopefully, your midwife and your doctor see those signs before, but you never know what happens during birth either.
Mm-hmm.
So anyways, he saw that. He liked it. It sparked even more questions. So then I said, hey, talk to these parents. So he did.
Yeah.
And then he was on board. We tried to schedule all of my midwife visits with him. They were very pleasant. We also had like mothering groups within that. So all the moms that were pregnant with me, we got to meet one time and talk to each other. So there's like a lot of extra steps.
Hey, that's a big difference between you and me.
Yeah.
I didn't experience pregnancy with anybody else.
Yeah, we had a little like, it was like a little workshop with everyone that was pregnant, and we were all in different stages, and some of us were puking, including me, and some of them were, you know, eating anything they wanted and having a good old time.
Hamburgers like me.
Yeah, hamburgers, apples, whatever floats your boat. So anyway, I was on this journey. Unfortunately, I picked the midwife, and it was because of my situation. Okay, so I was alone. My parents lived in the middle of the country. My husband's hardly home.
Mm-hmm.
So I needed to pick somebody. I picked a location over possibly quality.
Right, yeah.
With my first midwife, which she was lovely in the beginning. I loved her. And so it felt good for me that she was there in case Ryan was not home on a shift for whatever reason. She was way closer to me than anyone I knew at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So my labor was very long, and long story short, I was 21 hours for my first. I remember it was dinner. I'm like, okay, this is happening. Calder came through the night. No, going through my surges, and I'll tell you why I called them that later, but went through my surges and...
Versus what?
Contraction.
Oh, I call them contractions.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is still the same thing, just a different way to see it.
That's an interesting way to look at it. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I feel like my care with this first midwife was not what it could have been. I needed to be way more hydrated than I needed to be. Long story short, I heard the rooster crow, our sprinklers went off, and then before I know it, it's the next day since dinner, and I'm still not having this baby.
Yeah.
My mom and my mother-in-law were there. They were both horrified. My mom goes, "It looked like you were gonna die."
Oh my gosh.
Because I was, so many hours of trying to have Olivia, or just going through the surges. And long story short, my husband ended up taking control of the situation. Mm-hmm. He started an IV on me because he saw I was dehydrated. Mm-hmm. I was ready to push, but what had happened is I have a very, very thick placenta, and I have a very, very thick sac when I have my children.
Okay.
And they were both the same. I was ready. I was ready to push, but my sac was still there, and I was still full of water. So when I would push, my daughter would kind of bounce like a balloon.
Oh, yeah.
She wasn't coming out because she was still in the sac. So finally, they popped my sac. Sure enough, I was on all fours in my room, squatted, did all these other, before I knew how to give birth in a home. I always pictured on my back because that's all I had seen. And
that's right.
That's all that had been advertised to me.
Yeah.
But there are other ways to birth. And
gravity doesn't go that way.
It doesn't. You don't even poop like that.
Yeah.
So
oh my gosh, yeah.
You don't. You don't even poop like that. This is way bigger than a poop.
I just had a visual. Yes.
Totally. So, my midwife and Ryan would hold my arms, and I'd be squatting at the side of my bed, and I would push that way, and I would push on all fours. Mm-hmm. I ended up actually, because I was tired, birthing on my back, but Olivia's heart rate started to drop because I had been compressing her so much that's when the midwife took her out of me, and that's when I got that tear that I've been talking about for the last couple of episodes. So I didn't feel that, actually. I was just happy that she came out.
Yeah.
And yeah, she came out. We were very happy. Everything went okay. Midwives had to stitch me up, all that good stuff. But I was traumatized just in that ending part. Everything else was okay. So bad taste in my mouth a little bit from home birth.
Right.
So then for the second, I thought, I'm just going to go Western. F it. I'll do childbirth at a
hospital.
well, I was thinking midway, birthing center. So connected to the hospital, like
Mm-hmm.
kind of best of both worlds.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing happened to me. I was trying to make connections with these midwives that they had at the hospital available for me. And I just couldn't do it. So long story short, I decided, okay, I'm gonna conquer this fear, this hurt, this pain, this bad memory I have of my last birth with my daughter. So
did that experience affect you wanting to get pregnant again?
It did.
Yeah.
I was terrified. I was terrified. So it did not hurt me when I tore then. It hurt me after.
Yes.
For years. I would say a year and a half.
Yeah.
It was that agonizing, like needing to grind your teeth to make love or, anything. Mm-hmm. So, so then I thought, and then I was like crying because I'm like, when I did get pregnant with my second, I was like, I don't want this to be that. I had like a PTSD moment from that moment. So I ended up hiring a doula first before my midwife.
Okay, wait. Can you tell us what a doula is versus a midwife? Because I don't think I know that.
So a midwife would be considered like the doctor in the room.
Okay.
The one in charge of actually delivering the baby, making sure that your vitals are good, checking your vitals. The doula is like this loving, embracing, and doulas out there, thank you so much. You're so important. And I don't want to do you injustice if I'm not describing your position right or wrong, but to me, they're like the soul keeper of your birth. Oh, they're making sure that you are, that they know what you want and don't want. So whether you go to the hospital or stay at home, you can have a doula, by the way.
Yeah.
At hospitals.
They're kind of like your advocate.
They're your advocate.
Okay.
And they make sure you're comfortable. They make sure you're okay. Mm-hmm. It's like an additional soul support for you. It is so life-changing. I didn't have it for my first. Mm-hmm. I had it for my second. She helped me through so many things. She was also the one that put on the hypnobirthing class. Ooh, so here's the full circle here. Mm-hmm. So hypnobirthing is hypnosis. Mm-hmm. It was a series of classes. I did the classes and I did the hypnosis, which is audio. So you learn how to retrain your mind and your body to not have the fears that have been instilled in us.
So what's interesting is I did a hypnosis for the very first time yesterday, and I think one thing that I realized that is a big misconception about hypnosis is that it's not someone else going like trying to lure you to do something.
Yeah, like some genie with
it's not someone else telling you what to do. It's you empowering yourself and telling yourself the things that you need to hear to do what you want to do.
Yeah, it's your inner voice, but it's even deeper than that. You go into your subconscious and your all that stuff to like clear your initial reactions to things and experiences, right? Mm-hmm. So I ended up doing that to heal. I remember I had a lot of tears. I was in a group with 3 other pregnant mothers and fathers that would come to this group, and sometimes it would just be me because Ryan had to work, and sometimes some other mothers had themselves, so we would support each other. Mm-hmm. But it was literally like retraining your body. So I'll just give you this little picture. One of the beautiful pictures that was given to us was to close our eyes and, just imagine what you want your birth to be. So I started with that. The second thing was there's this little not story, but illustration very well put saying when a cat gives birth, they go to a comfortable, quiet, dark place. Oh. Cats actually purr when they give birth.
Really?
Yes.
That's fascinating. Mm-hmm.
And so then I thought back, and I was mentioning to Stephanie when we were getting our pussycat teas ready, was that, biblical times and before then, women, it was even put in the Bible that, that we're supposed to hurt during labor because we that's like us paying forward Eve's sin. So I thought if that's been instilled in us and we associate that with pain, then of course we're going to feel pain, right? Mm-hmm. I really feel that. So long story short, I'm listening to my audios every night with, my son and me. And that's one of the nights when I broke out in the hives, which I've broken out in hives twice. This would be the first of me healing, breaking out in hives, releasing this PTSD. Mm-hmm. But I used to go to bed with this lady, and the gist of what she says, and her voice is so beautiful, I believe she's British, is, your body is meant to do this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, your body will do beautiful things for you during your birth. You will be calm. You will be in the moment. So you're hearing these mantras, and I want to say it's 20 to 45 minutes long of these mantras that are just very empowering, very soothing. And I would listen to them every night until my birth. Mm-hmm. So month 3 of my birth all the way till the day he's born. Completely different experience.
Okay.
I was dancing during, and this is the other thing. In hypnobirthing, we call them surges, not contractions, because a surge contraction has like the word.
Yeah, it's squeezing.
It's squeezing.
Yeah.
It's kind of a violent. Surges
it gives me the visual of like, it's like a wave.
Yes. And I was given more tools during my hypnobirthing on positions that would feel great. Mm-hmm. And my doula and Ryan would take turns supporting me. So Ryan wasn't taxed and she wasn't taxed. And I would say, okay, I need Ryan right now. I would say, I need you, my doula's name. Mm-hmm. And I would hold pretty much my favorite contraction, surge, is putting my arm around someone's neck and having my head down between my arms and rocking side to side standing. It was so nice. Or being on the medicine ball and she would be massaging me while I was doing it. It was just lovely. Yeah. I walked 6 miles before my husband got home, and I was having surges with my neighbor.
Wow.
She was like baffled. She's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm good." So pretty much I had to retrain my body to be like
amazing.
To be like, this is cool. And it was.
Yeah.
Went and took a bath because my husband was in traffic from Orange County. He was on a call when I went into labor.
Yeah.
So anyway, I took a bath. I remember watching Unsolved Mysteries in my bath. Some like 80s one, you know. I was like, well, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to make some soup for everyone and everyone gets here.
Oh my God, you made soup.
So I made some big old pot of soup and made some sides. I think I even made the salsa fresca. Yeah. And then everyone starts showing up slowly. First it was Ryan, and then it was the midwife, and then my doula happened to be at another hypnobirthing class in San Diego. I had to wait for all these people to come from all these places, but I was calm. Yeah. I was like, I've got this. I'm good. Yeah. Everyone gets here, and they're like, you good? I'm like, yeah, I'm good. And there's pictures of us dancing. Mm-hmm. This is like 40 minutes before I start pushing. You know, I purchased a little pool, and the pools are cool because when I purchased it, I was like, this shit better be gold because they're expensive. Yeah. And I'll get to that in a minute, but the water is about 100.9 degrees, and that's about the temperature that your body is internally in your abdomen with your baby. So you're mimicking the same temperature. Mm-hmm. It's cushy on the bottom. You don't go in until you're about to push. So when it was time, when they told me I was ready, I was like, are you serious? I'm ready. Mm-hmm. I went through that, and it was great. Yeah. So then I started to push Jimmy, and this is where my doula and Ryan came in. My son came in out like this. So guess what? I was about to tear, right? Yeah. So I got a moment, and my doula knew it. The PTSD wanted to kick in so bad, and I was she goes, you're good. We've got this. She gave me some mantras. I took a deep breath. They readjusted his arms. And then I said, I'm going to be brave. I can do this. And I pushed. And I didn't tear.
That's crazy.
And I was about to tear. Yeah. But that moment was so empowering for me to be like, it was about to happen again. And it was taking notice. And I had a great midwife. And I had a great doula and husband to say, you've got this. And they even told me that I birthed like a goddess. I was like, that is such a compliment. Yeah. So I was like,
it was very much mind over matter there.
It was mind over matter. And I remember thinking, well, duh, because anytime I've done anything physically, I used to be a cross country runner, like anything I've done, it was retraining your mind, because to say this is cool or go somewhere beautiful, you know?
Oh my gosh. When I don't know which pregnancy it was, but I remember being at the hospital trying to remember the breathing exercises I was taught. But it hurt so fucking bad.
And with your breathing disease,
I was breathing like this. For anybody listening, you just have to look. But I was breathing with my face scrunched, like look like ugly as fuck, you know, like.
Well, and then like everything else is tense, just like in yoga class. Remember?
The nurse was like, "Ma'am, if you don't scrunch your face like that, it will hurt less. And I was like, oh no, bitch, I'm about to kill you right now. Right? And then it just wasn't working, my breathing. So I was like, fine, I will try to relax my face. And so I relaxed my face and I was like, damn it! That lady was right. It feels a lot better.
And that's what I say in yoga, right? In my class, I'm like, you gotta, the tension really starts here in our body, and then you just let it like relax.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was a pleasant experience. My placenta, they took a picture of it. It looks like a big ass steak. It was huge. It weighed as much as Jimmy did.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
It weighed as
So
much
when
as
you, okay, so I had an epidural, so I didn't feel shit. Okay, so like
that's so weird to me.
Yeah, right. So like I had an epidural and I didn't feel anything. You know, they say like, oh, when you push out your placenta, it's like giving birth a second time kind of thing. I'm like, I don't know. It all just fucking fell out and I didn't feel anything.
Yeah.
So did you have to push it out and you felt it, all of that kind of stuff?
So I breastfed. Breastfeeding stimulates it when you have it naturally. So as soon as my children were born, I placed them on me and I breastfed. And right after I breastfed, it stimulated it. The surges come more, and when the breast milk comes in, and it pushes the placenta down somehow, like it knows it's ready to come out. It doesn't need you anymore.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, then you do deliver it, but it's not that bad.
Mm-hmm.
But I honestly didn't even realize that you do that with my first birth. I'm like, wait, I push again. I was like, are you fucking kidding me?
More comes out.
I was like, what?
Yes.
It baffled me. So yes, you give birth twice, even if you don't have twins.
Yeah.
You do.
Okay.
And
the placenta, you ate it.
I did.
Yes.
So we grilled it up. No, I'm just kidding. I did look into postpartum, and I thought, okay, well, what are preventable things for that? Because I thought, man, that's a tough one. So I found this lady online, locally. She's local, but still to drive. Like she's from southern San Diego, so it took her an hour to get to her house. So as soon as you're, give birth, call me. My husband called, and they pick it up. You have to wrap it up in like a special Ziploc bag that she dehydrates it, adds a couple of other herbs, and puts it in pill form. So it literally came back to me that day.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So that way I could start. So you start with more dosage. I believe it was, don't quote me on this, but I remember taking 3 or 4 pills for the initial, and then it starts to taper down, kind of like an antibiotic, right? You kind of go and it tapers off.
Yeah.
It is supposed to, and I can't compare it because I didn't have one without or with,
right. Yeah.
But I did not have postpartum. I did this with both my children. And yeah, it's supposed to, shrink it down. I mean, we're a mammal. Every mammal you see give birth, that's an animal, that's not human, they eat their placenta when they're done giving birth. And, it's like, so I thought, well, why not? Yeah. I'm a mammal.
Yeah.
So yeah, I did that. People tripped out. My mom's all, what? And so we were dying laughing, and I told her I was going to cut her a little piece. But everyone was pretty much fascinated in my family. I'm the first one in my family to have had this experience. And then for my second birth, my doula, which I really love, gave me a closing ceremony at my last visit with her after the baby had been born. It's called a binding ceremony.
Okay.
And there's a lot of healing herbs. It smells like a beautiful Thai restaurant with these herbs. Yeah. So she rubbed my belly with oil, because that's what you need. And she heated it up. And then she sprinkled a beautiful design with my husband on my stomach to thank my body for what it had done.
Oh, that is so beautiful.
So I feel like...
And then she fed you pad thai.
Yeah. I would have been the pad thai. But it's the binding itself reminds me of a beautiful... it looked like a beautiful African wrap. Like the way it looked and the way you bind it on your belly. It looks the same, as a headdress. It's very beautiful. So she did that. She binded me up to heal with the herbs and heal with the compression instead of just using the medical one, which I did in the first one. This one was so beautiful.
I think that's such a beautiful way to think of, how I interpret that is like, what a beautiful way to just celebrate what happened.
Yes.
I think that after we have our babies, we're just go, go, go,
Yeah.
right? And I don't remember a time where I was able to just sit and reflect and celebrate what just happened. It was just like immediately going into sleep deprivation mode and figuring out what the heck to do. So I think that's a really beautiful way to.
Yeah. And I don't know if it was, the tone of my home or what it was, but yeah, we did find like that. But I feel so all of my midwives, both of them, recommend I don't leave bed instead of going potty and taking a shower. I had because of everything being so loose downstairs.
Mm-hmm.
It has to be because all the muscles have literally released in your pelvic floor to give birth, and they'll still dangling.
Yeah.
So they said, if you don't want to ding-a-ling-a-ling, you need to let yourself not be with gravity pushing down your vagina. Mm-hmm. So I did very much have the time to journal because I stayed in bed for 5 days straight.
Yeah.
My husband and my mother and my mother-in-law, for the first, they did help me with meals and taking the baby. I slept when the baby slept and more, and had her back and forth and him. But no, for me, it was very cozy. I didn't have to put my baby in a car seat. I did not have to sit down in a car.
Oh my gosh, that moment of putting the baby in the car seat from the hospital. Can I tell you? I remember my husband put our baby in the car seat, and we're like, that doesn't look like it belongs because it's so little.
And then how do you figure it out?
So big, and you're like, I can't believe I have to go walk into my real life.
Yeah, you had to do it quick.
The stark difference of hospital to home life is very great, and you're like, oh my gosh, these people are going to let me bring home this baby.
Yeah, they giving me permission.
Yes.
No, and you do have that support. And for you, it was more like you had that 24-hour monitoring. This is the one thing that could be different as well, as you had somebody medically monitoring you and your child 24/7 till you were discharged. Mm-hmm. I had my husband, which is great. He knows the vitals, which gave me, but I was staring at my kid.
Oh my gosh.
Are they breathing?
Yes.
I think that's normal for most of us, but yeah, I did not put my kid in the car until 3 weeks after my birth, or 2, because we went to the doctor. But I remember it being like, even for my husband, which for me, he's one of the smartest people I know. He's like, how the fuck do you do this? And then your baby's crying, so you get like in panic mode, and you're like, okay, we've got this. It's just a car seat. I never even thought the car seat would be that big of a deal, but it kind of is, guys, sometimes. And having my own shower, having my own sheets and my own food, that was all positives. And let's see, I had some other things to share here. I think, choosing your path, you should take your time with it if you can.
Wait, is this just the
tip?
No.
I'm just kind of reflecting on both of our situations.
I think this is a good tip.
It is a good tip. I think you should, take your time, choosing your path, because it's for you, but it's also for your child. Mm-hmm. Your child will feel this experience. My child is actually going into cranial sacral therapy, and one of the factors is his birth. And although I had a pleasant time laboring, he was stuck a little bit. Mm-hmm. So your child's motor skills, sensory things will be probably, and they're not now seeing, could be affected. Some of our tensions in our necks and stuff, they could start then. So it should be the experience that you want, and thank goodness there are a lot of options out there. Unfortunately, but being part of a home birth is expensive.
Yes, I don't think that people know this. Can you please share how much you spent?
Yes, so we had a health account. You can do that with your health insurance. If you're not familiar, you can ask your HR or whoever's in charge of your insurance, or call your insurance. My husband had a pretty good one built up for our first child. He had about $10,500. We used every cent of that, just to give you an idea, plus more to buy any other medical. So I would say it was roughly about $13,000 to $15,000 once you buy or rent pools and all the other things that require. Yeah, this is out of pocket money that you're spending. If you do a birthing center, however, through your insurance, that should be covered.
Okay.
So that's kind of a midway
point.
Oh yeah,
that would be considerably cheaper.
If you do a birthing center, that would be with a medical midwife. They're still lovely. I'm sure there's some lovely ones out there for you to choose. What I'm saying is that there's options. Don't limit yourself. Try to find resources to make this happen for yourself if it's something you really want, because I don't think you'll regret it. And also ask midwives to give you people that have birthed with them, random ones, not just the ones that give good feedback.
Yeah.
You know, or look at their Yelp if they have one or whatever. It's important. It's important. What else was I going to say? I think that, do you have anything to add? No. Oh, this is the tip that I wanted to give. I have a daughter, and I have purposely talked about the positives since my second birth of what birth is. I wanted to rewire her to be the first generation to know that, you know, her body's meant for this.
Yeah.
And not add the Hollywood, you know, to her.
Yeah.
So just letting her know that, yeah, your body's meant for this. They both know that they were born at home. But they're like, oh, some babies are born at hospitals too. And I'm like, yeah, they are. And some mommies need to go there. So it's not adding a prejudice or judgment to people who do, but I want her to know that her body's beautiful and that it's meant to do this. So.
I know. I think that I remember when I was trying to pick up these books and read while I had my crazy work schedule, I remember thinking in the back of my mind, women for centuries have been doing this without medication and all of the, you know, without painkillers and stuff like that. But in the moment, I decided, stick that thing in my back. I need it right now. And you know what? I have no regrets. I don't feel shame at all about it. I took a nap before I pushed. That was nice.
Yeah. That would be the benefit to that.
Yeah, I think this is really enlightening. I didn't know a lot about your birth, and that was really cool to hear about.
Yeah, same with you. And I really want to encourage friendships, moms, to talk about births, because it's healing, and something might come up for you that's beautiful, and something might come up for you that's painful, and it's a really good thing to relive and actually be honest about.
I think that even with our different stories, it's brought us together more too. They're different. You know, I think a lot of us are afraid to tell our different stories because they're different and someone might judge it. But I don't know. I think that we can embrace each other's different stories, and it's an amazing thing.
Yes. And a lot of areas of life. But let's start here. I think,
Start with birth.
Start with birth.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. I mean, I think that's a good way to end today. Yeah. We appreciate you listening. If you would like to comment, or, if there's a topic you'd like for us to explore, we are going to be having special guests on our podcast. We're very excited about that. If there's anyone you want to recommend that would be interested, or a story, go ahead and message us on our Instagram page. And, we appreciate all your support. Thank you so much.
Bye.